Our conversation this morning with Ashley Smith Thomas brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And Ashley is certainly well acquainted with the law. She is, she's very accomplished. Let's just put it that way. Political strategist, founder, and CEO of Freedom Funds USA, a nonprofit to protect freedom and national security. Ashley, good to have you with us here this morning.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I want to talk about this critical race theory. I think what we need most of all in terms of critical race theory is a primer on exactly what it is and exactly what it says, because we hear the term and we aren't really clear what we're talking about. So can you fill that gap in for us this morning?
Sure, absolutely. And that's such a great point that you made, because I think a lot of people still don't understand what it is. Obviously, here in Texas, we've been battling the critical race theory, and a lot of parents are just like, what is this? So basically, in simplistic terms, critical race theory, it actually teaches people of color that they are the victims, and that if you happen to be white, you are the oppressor and you are inherently racist. So if you are born white, you are indeed a racist. There's no going around it. So they're teaching this to children, and through the teaching, unfortunately, teachers are actually shaming white children in front of their peers by telling them that they are racist, they're an oppressor, they're taking opportunities away from people of color, black children, brown children. And so they create this environment that's incredibly divisive, and nowhere in the teaching does it talk about or really promoting unity. It's all division, because it's separating out basically the white children from children of color. So basically in this, it's all part of the critical theory, which is actually derived from Karl Marx. Karl Marx, who was the founder of Marxism, believed in that you have to separate people based on their class or their race. And so we're seeing that right now within this curriculum. So it's very much a Marxist type philosophy and curriculum. It's really unfortunate because, like MLK had said, you judge someone based not on the color of their skin, but the content of their character. And that is completely missed here in the critical race theory agenda and curriculum. It will be masked by the words of equity, equality, inclusion, or diversity. Those are the buzzwords. So if parents see that or hear that within the curriculum of their school, just know those are the buzzwords for critical race theory.
So the U.S. Department of Education is promoting this particular publication called Guide for Racial Justice and Abolitionist Social and Emotional Learning, some sort of a handbook. They say that they did that by mistake. Others say there's something else going on here. What's your take on that?
Sure, and I know that former Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos felt like that it was not a mistake, and that I have to agree with her, because they were using the Abolitionist Teachers Network to even help them in terms of their reopening schools. It's like the coronavirus guide. So they've used ATN before. ATN had created this guidebook back in August 2020. And when you actually go read it, you can go to their website, you can find the guidebook and read it yourself. In that, it talks about disrupting whiteness. And they literally believe in that there needs to be the removal of the standardized testing, that they need to hire more abolitionist teachers, remove police officers from school, and offering, quote, free anti-racist therapy for white educators. So it's definitely falls in line with the critical race theory. It's, in my opinion, another racist handbook because it creates division. And then they also believe, too, that what needs to be removed is the spirit murder of Black, brown, and indigenous children from the education system.
The spirit murder, was that the term you just used?
Yes, and that is the term that they use in their guidebook.
So we know that obviously for everybody in America, it's a really divisive issue right now. The contention is, though, that it's harmful for people on both sides of the argument, particularly those and right there, the ones being influenced most, young students, students being bombarded with this, what you might call a grown-up argument that is playing out in their own elementary schools. Is that a good way to put that?
I would say so. And it's interesting because I know here in the state of Texas what I've been hearing from parents, because through my organization we've been talking about critical race theory and just informing parents on these key issues, And what is really interesting is that I have parents that have come up to me and they just said, we don't understand what's going on, because children, they've literally, when they've grown up with their best friends who may be a child of color, everything was fine when they were, 4 or 5 years old in elementary. But now that they've gone into junior high and high school, now it's created tension because the teachers are deeming the white student to be racist, and then that's being ingrained into the class. So that creates this tension among students who are white and of color, and it's not healthy. And a lot of kids are being stressed out because they don't like being called racist. They don't like being called that they're an oppressor and being shamed in front of their peers. So it's just a very divisive type curriculum. It does nothing to unify the kids, but rather it really creates segregation, in my opinion, because it's separating out the kids of color and the white kids, while the white kids get shamed in the process.
Certainly, nobody wants to be called a racist. On the other side of that argument is the black children, and those black children are being told that they are victims right from the very start. Is that harmful?
It is harmful because it's creating a mentality that, society is against them, that there's systemic racism, that they've never have a chance here in America, which is not true. The whole part of critical race theory is that it grossly distorts America's history. It actually tears the fabric of our country. And so when you look at how they teach critical race theory and how they teach the history of our nation, they talk about that America is an inherently racist nation. America was built on systemic racism. Abraham Lincoln was a racist. George Washington was a racist. So now these children of color, black children, are being taught this, and then they're creating this victim mentality where, society's against them, the government's against them, everyone's against them. And so now it's going to create anger, it's going to create frustration in these kids, when really America is the land of opportunity. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, as long as you work hard and do your part, and you can pursue your dreams, you can pursue your calling, you can pursue what you want to achieve in this nation, unlike other nations where that's not possible. We live in the greatest nation because of our freedoms and liberties that we get to have. And it's not just for white people. It's for people of all colors, because we're all created by our Creator, and that's clearly mentioned in the Declaration of Independence. And so it's just really unfortunate to see this happening, because by creating a victim mentality, it's more harmful in the process, rather than helping them realize, hey, they're victors and that they can actually achieve their dreams in this country.
Among her affiliations, Ashley Smith Thomas is an Academy Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Ashley, we're seeing this play out probably most visibly at school board meetings on the local level. Is that the best battleground, or is that a battleground that is going to expand all across the nation?
That is the best battleground. So we're seeing that even here in Texas. So I'm here in the Dallas area, and we're seeing parents, look at what happened in Southlake, Texas, to the point that they received national attention. It's time for parents to rise up and push back against the school board for not allowing, the school board has the say whether to allow or not allow the critical race theory. And look at what happened in Loudoun, Virginia, parents pushing back. There's a similar situation down in Louisiana. So I think we're going to start seeing that across the nation. Parents need to push back critical race theory, because it is a Marxist curriculum, and it does nothing to unify, but it's creating division. And so parents need to rise up and push back against the school board in teaching the critical race theory. All of that can be stopped. And so I know that there's parents here in the DFW area that have issued FOIA requests, particularly on these school boards, and they're receiving all kinds of documentation, because the school boards are saying, oh, we're not teaching critical race theory. Oh, no, you're crazy. We're not teaching it. Well, no. When they did their FOIA request, sure enough, they're looking at all this documentation that proves that the school board had passed and is allowing critical race theory to be taught in the schools. So parents are able to use that to their advantage. They can use that to launch PACs and to campaign against the school boards, because some of them are going to be up for re-election soon. And so using that to expose what's really going on in the city, within the community. And I just think that's really key, and more parents have the opportunity to do that. So I think that is where we're going to see the shift and the change take place all across the nation when parents start pushing back against critical race theory.
We only have a second left with Ashley Smith Thomas. Now, that's the school board level where parents might have a direct involvement in terms of electing the school board members. What about the university level, which are controlled more by academics and administrations, where maybe the parents of the students don't have as much influence?
That's such a great question. In regards to the universities, I would say even students can start using their voice. I mean, you look at some of these different groups like Turning Point USA, where they've got these clubs within these universities, start using those clubs to start pushing back and start exposing this curriculum that's taking place. I know that there's some college students who don't want to push back because they're afraid that it's going to affect their grade, but I just think students need to be so bold and start exposing what is going on because it should not be taught, even at the collegiate level. It's not healthy. It doesn't help anyone, and it creates more division rather than it does unity.
I sort of have the feeling, Ashley, that you and I are going to talk about this sometime in the coming months once more, but I appreciate your time here this morning very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Have a great day.
You too.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160.